If you've ever been curious about IV therapy, peptides, or hormone health, but not sure if it's right for you, this episode will give you the clarity you've been looking for. Welcome back to Sweat Community, the podcast that keeps you in the know on all things health, fitness, wellness here in the Denver metro area. I'm your host, Sheena, and my goal is to bring people together through wellness and community, connecting you to the people, places, and experiences that make Denver so great. Today's episode is a good one because we're diving into a side of wellness that's getting a lot of attention right now: IV therapy, peptides, and hormone optimization. We're talking about what actually works and what you should know before trying it. And we've got something fun for you. So make sure you stick around for a giveaway and a special offer just for Sweat Community listeners. I'm joined today by Kristy Anderson, one of the owners of ONUS IV Therapy and Longevity. Kristy, welcome to the show.
Sheena, thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
I'm so excited you're here. So let's get started with your story. What led you to open ONUS and what was the vision behind it?
So we opened in 2015, and at that time, there wasn't a dedicated IV clinic here in the Denver metro area. I first heard about this concept of IV therapy from a friend of mine who was starting a clinic in San Diego in 2014. And to me, it just seemed like such a natural fit in Denver. Cities like Las Vegas, Miami, they already had them for hangovers and sort of the party scene. But I thought, what a great idea for the athlete, the busy mom, somebody that's always traveling for work and is run down. And when I looked around, I didn't see one. I thought, this is something I just have to do. So my partners are my now husband, at the time he was my boyfriend, and a ER doctor, Dr. Ben Wilkes. So the three of us formed the LLC in 2014, and then we opened our first mobile clinic in 2015, and our first brick and mortar in that fall of 2015. About 11 years in business now.
Wow, that is incredible. So starting that business out, were there any roadblocks? And if so, how did you overcome them?
The biggest roadblocks in the beginning were just trying to understand how to do this with compliancy. There wasn't any regulation at the time. These were really a new concept. So there wasn't a pattern or a mold to follow. We kind of had to invent it for ourselves as we went along. And I think one of the key things that we did right in the beginning was having a board certified ER physician as one of the founding owners. Dr. Ben provided the guidance right from the get-go that we needed. And his idea was this should be safe. It should be just the same protocol that he would practice in the emergency room, but in a lounge, comfortable setting. So we didn't compromise any of the quality of the care. We just moved the location to a less urgent setting, if you will.
Yes, not like a hospital setting.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
I love that. I love that. So when did you realize that you could grow, start getting into multiple locations, and then eventually a franchise?
So in 2016, we had a customer who was really, really into the concept, and she was an investor early on, and her encouragement is really why we began to grow. She was the backing behind locations number 2 in Greenwood Village and location number 3 in Boulder. And that made us realize that all the communities in the Denver metro area could benefit from this. And we were just seeing an influx of customers and people interested. It made sense to keep growing and adding communities that we could serve.
Oh my gosh, that's great. I know expanding, it's just so great for the community. So speaking of growing your business, is there a piece of advice like your favorite that you've gotten about running a business and growing?
I think the biggest piece of advice I've gotten is to really separate yourself from the business as much as you can, not taking things personally, seeing things from an unbiased perspective, and trying to take it all with a grain of salt. Every day is going to be different. It's a roller coaster to run a business. You have your up days, you have your down days. Take the small wins when you can. Look for the positives. And really, if you can build a team around you that is better than you, I'm terrible with the numbers, right? So I have an excellent bookkeeper and an excellent accountant to keep me in line. I don't know medicine. So Dr. Ben educates me every day on what we're offering and has taught me along the way. So surrounding yourself with good people and always be opening to learning has been key to running this business.
Definitely. Sounds like a really strong, solid team you guys have. All right, so let's get started kind of with what you guys started with, IV therapy. So for somebody who's never done it, how do you explain the process and what happens to your body physically when you get a drip? Is it so much different than just drinking water and taking supplements?
So it's the same concept, right? You're hydrating yourself, you're taking in nutrients. The bioavailability is just much quicker and it's more efficient. So if you're looking for an instant boost or a more impactful boost, let's say you're training for a marathon and you really need to recover faster and more impactfully, that's where an IV therapy treatment is going to surpass just oral hydration or oral supplementation. So your body can instantly absorb all the nutrients, it absorbs the hydration, it bounces back faster. Or let's say you're fighting a cold or flu, it's just going to give you a more immediate impact, help your immune system absorb the vitamin C, the zinc, whatever it is that you got in your treatment that day, and your body can just take advantage of those nutrients faster and more efficiently. As far as the process goes, we typically have you come in, and you can either be an appointment or a walk-in. You're going to meet with a licensed registered nurse, and they are going to discuss with you how you're feeling that day, what you're hoping to achieve, everything from how you've been sleeping, how you've been eating, other symptoms that you may have. And they're going to make recommendations based on what you discuss. Every treatment is customizable, so they can tailor it to your specific needs. They can add extra hydration. You could add an extra bag of saline if you're really depleted. They can add extra nutrients, maximize dosages depending on your specific needs that day. They're going to take a medical assessment, so they make sure that your blood pressure, your temperature, all of that is it within range. They'll check your medications, make sure that you're well controlled, let's say on your blood pressure or any diabetic medications. And then you sit in a comfortable lounger chair. You can watch TV, Netflix, grab a hot tea and a blanket, and you just relax. It's about a 45-minute process. And you could chat with the nurse, or you could put on an eye patch and take a nap. So it's really up to you as to how you choose to spend the relaxation time. It is a relaxing process. And then typically you'll feel better within a couple hours. I usually feel the best the next day after the nutrients and that hydration has really absorbed into my body. So that's the day that I feel absolutely replenished and energized, is the day right after.
I love that. So I actually went in to ONUS last week, and just like you were saying, the nurses, everybody there was so wonderful. And I kind of didn't know what to expect or what drip I was wanting. I have rheumatoid arthritis and I was in a bit of a flare. So I had a conversation with the nurse, and she recommended the Aspen IV due to the extra vitamin C, the amino acids, the glutathione, and the B vitamins. She was like, this will help you with what you're going with right now, your flare, your energy levels. And the experience was great. Like I didn't even realize you had the massage chair. So I was so relaxed. It was seamless. And I will have to say too, the next day is when I really felt better. So usually I have to take a Celebrex or any anti-inflammatory pretty much every day. I lasted for 4 days without needing to take any supplemental anti-inflammatories. So there's definitely something to it. And the team was just, she knew exactly what I needed when I was like, yeah, this is kind of what I'm feeling, but I don't really know what I need. And it was nice to just go in there and let them basically tell you what you need.
Yeah,
that was a really good experience.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love hearing that. It's truly stories like that make what we do so wonderful.
Oh my gosh, I know. It was great. And then I also read up too, orally, when you take vitamins or anything, it's only about 20% bioavailable. Whereas if you do it via IV, it's 100% bioavailable, which is why you feel so much better, so much quicker and longer.
Exactly. And especially if your digestive system is in distress, it absorbs even less. So if you're fighting a stomach bug, or you have irritable bowel, or even just stress makes us absorb less because we're in our fight or flight or freeze mode. And so your body shuts down that parasympathetic nervous system. And so that includes blood flow to the stomach. So you're absorbing even less when you're in a distressed situation. So again, that's when an IV absorption of nutrients can help even better.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's great. All right, so a topic that is getting a lot of hype right now are peptides. You've expanded beyond IV therapy into peptides and hormone replacement therapy. So what sparked that evolution?
It really came down to our clients. About 2 years ago, we sent out a customer survey to seeing what our customers wanted. You've been trusting us for your IV therapy for years. What else could we offer that would benefit your health, your wellness routines? And it came back with a resounding, we'd love to see you offer peptides. We'd love to see you offer hormones. So we started doing our research, our due diligence. Dr. Ben jumped in and built the protocols. We found our suppliers, trained our teams, and educated our nurse practitioners, really built a nurse practitioner team at that time because these two new services do require nurse practitioner supervision and telehealth visits. So it came down to what our customers were asking for. And you're absolutely right. It's such a hot topic, peptides. We were excited to dive into it.
See, that again, you're listening to the community and giving them what they want. I just love that. So, peptides, what are they and what are people coming into ONUS for? Peptides with what kind of results?
So, the scientific term peptide really just means a short chain of amino acids. When you think about a protein, the building blocks of your muscles, everything that your body uses for energy, that is a longer amino acid. Typically, a protein is 50 plus amino acids strung together. And a peptide is going to be less than 50 amino acids strung together. Something like insulin is a peptide that you may not have thought of, or glutathione. There's so many peptides out there that you don't realize are peptides. And our body produces them naturally. We use them in all sorts of different processes, whether metabolism, energy production, immune system function. They are all over your body in every single cell, and they're so important. They're what keeps us running. And even some of the hormones are considered peptides, like dopamine and serotonin. Insulin is a great example of a peptide that's been in use for a very, very long time. And it happens to be a longer chain peptide. So it's still less than 50, but it has to be injected because it's a longer chain peptide, whereas certain peptides can be ingested orally. BPC 157 is a great example of that. You can either inject it or take it orally. Most peptides, just like IV therapy, are most effective if you inject them. So that's why it was a great service for us to offer. You know, we already have a dedicated nursing team, a nurse practitioner team. They can teach you how to do your injections at home. They can help build your protocol, make sure you're achieving the results that you want. Whenever you sign up for peptide therapy at ONUS, the first thing you're going to do is do a telehealth consultation with an experienced nurse practitioner. Discuss your goals, whether that's weight loss, injury recovery, or mental clarity. There is a host of peptides out there. There's thousands of them. And we have a pretty wide variety that we can offer at ONUS so they can help you decide which ones are right for you and your goals.
That's so great. I didn't know that. Is there something that people should be cautious about peptides, and should they only do these under guidance?
Yes, absolutely. It's a little bit of the wild, wild west right now with peptides because every, gym bro biohacker is out there talking them up. You can get them shipped to you from an anonymous source online from China. I think people need to be really careful there. They need to tread lightly because the peptides that you're getting from overseas are not necessarily third-party lab tested. You don't know what they're suspended in. We have had some pretty horrific stories of customers coming in, getting their peptides from an online source and then having an anaphylactic reaction or not getting dosage instructions, or it just comes in a vial and they don't know how to reconstitute it. We had one gentleman tell us he reconstituted it with just tap water. And you're supposed to reconstitute, of course, with bacteriostatic water. So having that guidance, I think, sure, can you get them from a cheap source overseas? Yes. I think there's a lot of danger in that. I think people need to be very careful. Getting them from a reputable source. Our peptides are made here in the United States. They're third-party lab tested. We look at every lot number. We look at every lot number's lab report. We can share that with the customer so they can see the purity of the source. We know the right dosages. Our nurse practitioners can guide you. They can help you with any symptoms or concerns of symptoms that you might get. They're available, for follow-up questions. You have a dedicated team to support you. Even true with the GLP-1s. I think it's really important that you get your GLP-1s, also a peptide, from a source that you trust and with the guidance of a medical professional. People have been losing weight too quickly. They've been losing their hair. They've been overdosing themselves. There's just a lot that we don't know about as far as doing this incorrectly. We're learning things quickly because people are getting them from sources, doing it themselves, and we're seeing the outcomes of that. When you follow a nurse practitioner or a medical professional, you're going to do it with caution. You're going to lose weight slowly. You're going to make sure you're maintaining your muscle mass, that you're in a strength training program, you're getting enough protein. all the things to support a safe and healthy weight loss journey.
Definitely. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of horror stories about the quick muscle loss, like the really fast weight loss with the hair loss, and then people will just gain the weight back because they've lost their muscle. So I think
Yep.
going slow and under the guidance of the nurse practitioner is just so key.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really where we differentiate ourselves. Like, sure, you can get your peptides from anywhere, you can get your GLP-1s from anywhere, or you can come to us and really protect your health. You have one life to
Yeah,
live. So
exactly.
let's take great care of it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Another thing that I'm really curious about, which I haven't dove into or know much about, but it's hormone therapy. A lot of my friends now are going into perimenopause and have been talking about testosterone and just how awesome it's been. So it's definitely something that I am considering, but I don't really know that much about it. So I really am excited to talk to you about hormone therapy and then just kind of what are signs that you've seen from somebody that their hormones may be off?
So I think in perimenopause, and I'm right there with you, girl. That phase of life is happening for me too. And it's interesting because I think we blame so much of the symptoms we're feeling just on the stress of being a mom and running a business or whatever you have going on, taking your kids to all their things and being responsible for a household. And it's stressful, right? So you think, okay, I'm not sleeping as well. I have a lower libido. I have brain fog. And you might crack all these things up to stress, but really getting your hormones checked really comes down to a lab panel. It's so important to not just take hormones without first looking and seeing where you're at, getting a baseline, seeing where is your not only your testosterone and your estrogen and your progesterone, but also the vitamins that support those pathways. So your B12, your vitamin D3, all of those are important. That gives you a whole picture of where your hormones are. And it's going to change, right? Perimenopause, menopause, it's a journey. And for men too, they go through something called andropause. It's not as dramatic maybe as women, but their testosterone drops. They may chalk it up to just life stress, job stress, but it can really boil down to your hormones. And I think it's interesting when we look at hormone ranges from a traditional Western perspective. You might go to your primary care doctor and they're going to say, your testosterone is in range. Well, just being in range doesn't mean it's optimized. If you're at the low end of that range, you could feel a lot better if you went on therapy and then you went to the upper end of the range. We have nurse practitioners that have years of experience in hormone therapy, and they will tell you that going to a traditional doctor, they might say, "Oh, you're fine, you're in range, but you're not feeling great." They're not addressing the symptoms. They might say, "Oh, well, you have sleep problems. Well, I'm going to prescribe you Ambien." Whereas if they could just get your hormone levels to the optimal end of the ranges, you might feel better without pharmaceutical intervention. So that's something interesting I have learned on this hormone education journey of mine, is that just being in range doesn't always mean you're ideal.
Yeah, that is so true. So in-house, do you do lab tests and personalized treatment for everybody who is interested or wants the hormone therapy?
Yes, yes. So if you're interested in hormone therapy, the first thing they're going to do is a lab draw. That typically takes a couple days to come back. And then you're going to sit down either via telehealth or in person with the nurse practitioner, discuss the result. The panel includes not just the hormones, but all the supporting vitamins as well, B12 and D3. They're also checking CBC and all the other things, thyroid, making sure that all the supporting factors that affect hormone pathways are calculated as well. And then they can recommend several different modalities. Some people just want to do creams or oral supplementation. Other people like to move to injections. And then other people like to do the pellet therapy. So, pellet therapy is called BHRT. It's bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. It is considered in some circles the gold standard because it does give you a time release of these hormones and you don't have to do it as often. You don't have to think about it. So, for women, it's every 3 to 4 months. It's a tiny little grain of rice pellet that's put into your derriere, into kind of in your hip area. So they numb you, they insert the pellet. You don't really feel it. It's a tiny little incision and it's placed in your hip. And it slow releases the hormones over time. You can adjust it up or down as needed. And then the injections, full transparency, I decided to go the injection route because I like doing it that way. And I have been on testosterone now for about 8 weeks. And it took about 4 weeks to kick in. And all of a sudden, I felt like myself again. So I am the poster child for this. I put it off and I was at the low end of the range. I was very low. And now my levels are close to 100. So for women, that's at the high end of the range. And for men, they want to be in the five, six, seven, 800s, depending on their metabolism and their goals. But for women, definitely a lot lower, but we need it. We do need testosterone. And I think that's another misconception, is that we should be focused just on estrogen, progesterone. But no, our body really needs testosterone. And it has really made a huge difference for me as far as my stamina through the day, not getting so tired, being able to deal with complex issues too. I feel I have better problem solving skills and I feel more mental clarity, and my libido feels back too. I'm like, wow, I feel like a girl in my 20s again. I don't know what's happening here. Um
That's
so
awesome.
yes, I am very happy about that. I think my husband is too.
I bet.
So yeah, I'm a big advocate for it now. If you talked to me 8 weeks ago, I would not be able to share that personal journey, but I am an open book, so happy to share it.
Very cool. I feel like I
Yeah,
need to go in and get my labs tested because I feel like I'm definitely on the lower end. And I think testosterone can help so many people, so many women in
totally.
particular,
Yeah,
and
and we
men, of
do.
course. But
Yes, it's obvious for men. Like everybody talks about testosterone therapy for men, but they don't talk about it for women. It's interesting because testosterone therapy has been in use for years in other countries, approved by the licensing boards in Australia, South Africa, the UK. The US has been very slow to adapt it. It's too bad because so many more women could benefit from it.
absolutely. Yes. And it also like building a little more muscle. It's so good for our bone density, just
Yes.
things as we age that we need to be aware of.
And cardiovascular protection too. Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
definitely. Agreed. So you mentioned that one of your partners is a physician and you have nurse practitioners and you have nurses in house. How do you make sure that the clients are being safe and that they continue to be safe with their journey with these different treatments?
So we, like for example, peptides, that's probably the one area where we do put some of it on the onus. I'll use our term. We put the onus on the client because they take the peptides home with them. It's a daily injection in most cases. With the GLP-1s, it's a weekly injection. We do have some clients that like to come in for their weekly injection just to see the nurse and have them do it. But most people take it home. So we pre-fill the syringes for the GLP-1 so that they have the correct dose, makes it easy for them. For the ones that are daily doses, we give them the proper number of syringes, show them how to do the injection. They take home an injection card with a QR code so they can scan it and watch the process again if they need to. And then I think the most important thing with our processes is follow up. So with peptides, with GLP-1s, you're checking in monthly with the nurse practitioner, asking about your weight loss. We're asking about other symptoms, your muscle, how has your nutrition been? How has your strength training been? Have you been walking? Whatever program we designed for you with your buy-in, we want to make sure you're adhering to it. And same with
Mhm.
the hormones. The hormones, for example, if you do get a lab panel at ONUS, that first lab panel comes with a 5-week follow-up panel. It's included in the price. It's also $50 off for new clients. If you're new to hormone therapy at ONUS, we do give you a discounted rate for that first go round. So you get an initial lab, you get a follow-up lab, and that follow-up lab is really important. We want to check in at 5 weeks, see how you're doing with the therapies, make sure that your body is responding, make tweaks if needed. And then after that, we're going to be doing follow ups every 6 months, making sure it's still working for you. And perimenopause is a journey. You aren't the same
Mhm.
person 6 months from now that you were 6 months ago. So we are getting a new baseline, seeing where your body's at every 6 months because we're changing all the time. But in terms of making sure that the client is safe and doing things right, a lot of it comes down to the follow-up and just checking in, make sure that there's no symptoms or anything else that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, very good. Because, yeah, these are pretty powerful therapies. I think people who are not too aware of it might be wondering what are the risks or the side effects of either IV, peptides, and or hormone therapy that they should be aware of.
I'll start with IV therapy. So it's very, very safe. That's the safest, probably the safest service that we provide. It's hydration, it's vitamins, it's in some cases NAD. Some of the risks, obviously you can have pain, swelling, bruising at the site of injection, especially if you have harder stick veins. You might experience some of that. Some people have allergies. You can have a metal allergy and be allergic to zinc. So that's something that you want to let your nurse know about when you're doing your medical intake, is if you have any metal allergies. Um, NAD IV therapy does come with some transient side effects. So when you're infusing an NAD IV, you can sometimes feel tightening in the chest. You can sometimes get some GI discomfort. Some people will even experience diarrhea. They're all transitory symptoms. So we tell people that want to do NAD that they need to give us at least 4 hours the first time to mitigate those discomfort symptoms that you might have. A lot of people can do it faster than that. So once you know how your body reacts to NAD, I can typically do an NAD drip, for example, in about an hour and a half. But we want to give you plenty of time that first time to make sure it's not an uncomfortable experience. With IV therapy, another risk might be overhydration. And this can lead to a serious symptom called hyponatremia. Very rare, very, very rare. And it typically would happen in a distress situation. There is an example many years ago. There was a Boston Marathon runner who was overhydrated. And overhydration in that sort of extreme circumstance can look like underhydration. So, acting confused and dizzy and falling down. And so the paramedics at the Boston Marathon gave him an IV and he ended up passing away. That's a very extreme example. Hyponatremia is very, very rare. In most instances, especially here in Colorado, we're usually dehydrated. So having a liter of saline is a very safe procedural thing to do. In terms of the peptides, I know we discussed some of the symptoms that can happen with GLP-1s, like the hair loss, the muscle loss. You hear about Ozempic face. All of that comes down to not properly taking the peptide. So if you're under proper supervision, the chances of that happening are very slim to none, because they're going to start you on a low dose. They're going to see how you handle it. There are some side effects that come along with when you first get started, like constipation. You're slowing down the GI tract. So again, starting with a very low dose, seeing how you do is so important. And the nurse practitioner is going to make sure of that. I've heard of people having vomiting and other symptoms, and typically that goes with starting on too high of a dose of a GLP-1. The other peptides that we offer in-house, like our growth hormone peptides, like Samorelin, Tesamorelin, those are very low risk. We do screen for cancer with those because they're growth hormone peptides. You wouldn't give that to somebody who has an active tumor. And then we also offer BPC and Wolverine. Those are very safe as well. Those are more for injury recovery, muscle recovery, and reducing inflammation. So those are very safe and low risk peptides. In terms of hormones, some of the side effects you can see if you were to go up too high on testosterone, and your nurse practitioner is going to start you at a low dose to make sure this doesn't happen. And they're going to optimize you, especially if you're female, at a much lower dose than, say, a male. But, it's what you know about testosterone, right? Male pattern baldness, so hair thinning, that is a symptom of testosterone that's dosed too high. Facial hair, so getting hair on your chin, your chest. That would be an extreme example of weight, the bearded lady in the circus type of thing.
Right. It's so funny. I know a lot of people on testosterone, and never once have I heard of them growing hair.
Those are some extreme examples. But again, under guidance and supervision and the 5-week follow-up to make sure things are going well, chances of these things happening are very slim. So yeah, it just comes back to proper supervision and
definitely
working with a medical professional.
Very good. So if there's someone who's curious about it but hesitant, what would you tell them?
If you're curious but hesitant, the best thing to do is just to talk to someone that's knowledgeable. So our peptide consults are always free with the nurse practitioner, and you can talk to them about hormones in that consult as well, or IV therapy. We like to offer that because there's a lot of people who are curious, but not sure. And I think the first thing to getting over the hesitation is to have an understanding, a better grasp. And that really comes with talking with somebody who's knowledgeable and doing your homework too. There's a lot of information out there, making sure that your sources of information are valid. I recommend published medical articles. JAMA has a great article recently about the neuroprotective benefits of GLP-1s. There's some ongoing research about protecting against dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. Looking at like PubMed or JAMA, New England Journal of Medicine. These are great sources for looking at what's happening in the world of hormones, peptides, and debunking some of those old myths. Everybody thought for years estrogen was a no-no for women. You were not supposed to do hormone replacement therapy because of that big study that was done back in the early 2000s that really did us all a big disservice because it was poorly conducted and showed negative outcomes with hormone replacement therapy in postmenopausal women. And it set back the world of hormone optimization probably 20 years. So you can get more up-to-date information now going online to reputable sources like published medical articles and doing your homework and then talking to someone knowledgeable that's a licensed medical professional, I think is the right way to start if you're curious, but not sure.
Agreed. Yeah, I think just chatting over it and the benefits, all of that is really good. So it sounds like after chatting with you that all three of these really go well together. IV therapy, peptides, and hormone work really well in conjunction. So I'm curious, which are your favorites in these groups? And do you have a service that's the most popular that people tend to go or want?
Yeah. So what's most popular in the IV category is our Phoenix. The Phoenix rising from the ashes is kind of its little slogan. So this is great for so many different things. Cold and flu recovery. It's got B vitamins, glutathione, which is an antioxidant that helps your body flush toxins, vitamin C, which is immunoprotective, helps boost your T cell functions. I love the Phoenix. I had a really bad reaction back in COVID era. I had a really bad reaction to a COVID vaccine and it was almost like a flu. I got the Phoenix and it really turned me around. So that is a very popular one for us. People use it for altitude, flu, hangover recovery. That's our number one, I'd say, quote unquote, bestseller in the IV category. Peptides are most popular are the GLP-1s, of course, as to be expected. Everybody's talking about those, and even people who aren't obese can benefit from a GLP-1 because of the cardioprotective nature. Being on a very, very microdose, as they say, can be beneficial even for average weight people. And so that's very popular from our peptide services. Another one that's really emerging in popularity from our peptide services is Glow. I'm currently taking Glow. It's 3 peptides. It's GHKCU, which does have copper in it. So again, people with a metal allergy, you'd want to be aware. It also contains BPC 157, which helps reduce inflammation, and it contains TB 500. Great for inflammation reduction and helping with injury repair. GHKCU is great for collagen. It helps with hair, skin, and nails. That's why it's called Glow. It helps your internal workings with the inflammation reduction, and then it helps external. Your skin is your largest organ. Helps with collagen production there, reducing fine lines and wrinkles. It's a great peptide, and it's gaining a lot in popularity. So I've been on it now for a while, and I've been seeing great results. I love it. And then on our hormone side, I'd say our most popular is testosterone because it's applicable to both men and women. So we have people that love to do the pellets. We have people that love to do the injections, people that just do oral supplementation. But the great thing about testosterone is there's a modality for everyone. A little needle adverse, there's other options for you there. So those I'd say are the most popular in each category.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you have shared your transformation, what has worked for you, how you've reacted to some of these IVs and peptides and hormones. But do you have a story of somebody who came in and you really saw a transformation?
Yeah, actually I do. He won't mind me sharing this. He's the client of ours that's been very vocal. He had a bike accident last summer up in Frisco. He was riding the bike trail up there and shattered one of his vertebrae. And the next thing he remembers, he was being taken to St. Anthony's in Frisco. His Apple Watch had gone off, the whole 911 call, and was put in a neck brace and told that he would not be able to start physical therapy for at least 10 weeks. He started on BPC 157 and TB 500. So that blend by itself is called the Wolverine. So he started on the Wolverine peptide and he took that for about 8 weeks. And he was actually able to start physical therapy early. He started it at 8 weeks instead of 12. And he attributes a lot of that sped up recovery by the reduced inflammation and the ability for his body to get back on track faster to the peptides. And that story is what's made those peptides so popular, is they have really helped a lot of people with injury, surgical recovery, and having better outcomes and faster outcomes too. That's a great example I can think of a recent client story. That's why we do what we do. We love making a difference in people's lives. And he was ecstatic because then he got back into physical therapy and he was like, I'm actually out on the golf course faster than I thought I would be. So
Wow.
he was so happy because he was going out of his mind when he was in the neck brace. He's like, all I can do is walk. Very, very active individual, really prominent businessman, so much energy. So being in a neck brace and stuck behind a desk or stuck only walking was driving him absolutely bonkers. So,
Oh my gosh, I bet.
yeah, it was great to see him back at it.
Wow, that's so cool. Okay, for somebody who's really curious, what does this look like in terms of an investment?
So, in terms of an investment in your health, you want to find a system that works for you. I think James Clear in the book Atomic Habits says it really, really well, in that a system will always trump having just a short-term goal. You want it to be consistent. So that means consistency in what works for you, finding a protocol with the support of a nurse practitioner, whether that's hormone optimization, peptides, IV therapy, or a mixture of all of the above. Putting in place a system that you may have to try a few things, see what really works, and then stick with it. This could be at any price point in your budget. So we try to have services that are available that are for the cost conscious, something as simple as a B12 shot, which is $30. Even getting one of those once a month can be a really nice boost to your energy, or a D3 shot. Everybody, it seems, is deficient in D3, which is so counterintuitive here in Colorado since we get so much sunshine. But these are modest price points that are very approachable. And you can work all the way up to peptide stacks and hormone stacks that are in the several hundreds a month, but there's a price point for everyone, and you can find something that works for you and optimizes your health no matter what your budget is.
Totally agree. Okay, so I want to shift into something that is really exciting. You have a grand reopening coming up in Highlands Ranch on May 12th. What can people expect for that?
So for the grand reopening, which is basically an excuse to have a party, right?
Totally.
We are going to be supporting the Backpack Society. This is a charitable organization within Highlands Ranch that has such a great mission and cause. They send students home on the weekend with backpacks full of food to help with food insecurity when they're not in school. We're having a raffle to support them. We have several business partners in the neighborhood who have donated to this raffle. It'll be Tuesday, May 12th from noon to 2 p.m. Backpack Society will be there. The Highlands Ranch Community Association will be there to do a ribbon cutting. In addition to the raffle, we'll have our nurse practitioners on hand to answer your questions that you may have about IV therapy, peptides, and hormones. We'll be doing some fun other giveaways, lots of foods and snacks, and you can tour and see our brand new space that we have just recently upgraded. You can even take the massage chairs for a little spin if you want to.
Oh, how fun. Who doesn't love a good ribbon cutting? Isn't there a promotion happening?
How could I forget? Yes. So we do have a brand new manager who will be there that day as well. We're sad to be losing our old manager who helped launch the store. She is moving to the east, but we are excited to promote from within. We have an amazing team. We always try to promote internally. And so we're excited to introduce Erin to the community.
So exciting. I cannot wait. I will be there and very much looking forward to it.
Yay.
Yeah, this is really, really fun. I love the new space, the upgrades that you've made. It feels so cozy, and I can't wait for more people to see it.
Me too. I'm excited.
Yes. We have something really fun for our listeners. Do you want to share what you're doing for the Sweat community audience?
Yeah, so we're giving away a $200 gift card. This can be used for any of our services, IV, peptide, hormone, whatever you choose, lab panels. So we're giving this exclusively to the Sweat community, and Sheena's going to share how you can sign up to win this prize.
Yes, there'll be more details in the show notes, but I will make a post on Instagram, and all you have to do is follow Sweat Community and ONUS and comment longevity, and you are entered to win this $200 gift card. So that's it. Very exciting, and we'll be sharing more on that soon.
Yes, and we also wanted to offer free B12 shots to all Sweat Community members. Just come into any ONUS location, can be Highlands Ranch or anywhere else in the Front Range, and just mention Sweat Community to get a free B12 shot.
That is so awesome. Thank you so much, Kristy. So we have a rapid fire section right before closing out. Are you ready to play?
Let's play. I'm game.
Let's do it. Okay, here we go. Coffee or IV drip for energy?
Can I have coffee in my IV drip? I love coffee that much.
Right? I think I've actually said that. Like, can I just infuse coffee into my veins?
Yes. Love them both.
Totally. Okay, that's fantastic. So what's something in the wellness space that you do not believe in?
Have you heard about look maxing and extreme optimization? So there's these mostly young men influencers that are they're look maxing, and it's basically a competition to be the leanest, the buffest, the most chiseled jawline. They're going to absolute extremes, tinkering with steroids and fracturing their jawlines, and it's so extreme and over the top, and they're really putting their health in danger. So not a trend I am a fan of. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I have not heard of that, and I hope I don't hear more about that.
No, it's terrifying.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay. And last one thing everyone in Denver should do for their health.
Get outside, be in nature. We're so lucky to live here in Colorado, and there's not a better place. Even if it's just a 20-minute walk around your neighborhood, I think it just does our mental health and our mindset so much good to be outside.
Agreed. You can't go wrong with natural vitamin D outside.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Okay, yes. The last question I have for you, Kristy, this is one thing that I ask everybody. What made you sweat this week?
So the easy bake oven answer would be sauna or my workouts, but something that truly made me sweat was being stuck on a flight. I took a one-day business trip and was in El Paso, Texas, and our flight got delayed. Then they had a fuel spillage, and so I was sweating because I really prioritized getting home for bedtime to see our son and hear about his day and to read him some stories. And it didn't look like I was going to do that despite all my planning. But I did manage to make it home just in time, but not without some sweating.
Oh my gosh, that made me sweat too. My anxiety levels just went way up listening to that.
When you see the delay go further and further, it's another 20 minutes and another 20 minutes. You're like, painful.
Oh, that's awful. That's the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm so glad you made it home for bedtime. And Kristy, thank you so much. This was such an insightful conversation, and it was so lovely to have you as a guest here on Sweat Community.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much, Sheena. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Oh my gosh, of course. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to try to hang this up, and hopefully if I hit stop. A huge thank you to Kristy Anderson. Thank you so much for being here today. And if you've been curious about IV therapy, peptides, or hormone health, this is your sign to explore it the right way. And if you are in the Highlands Ranch area, now is the perfect time with their grand reopening on May 12th. And don't forget, one of you will win a $200 gift card at ONUS IV Therapy and Longevity. When you go in, make sure you mention Sweat Community for a free B12 shot. All the details will be in the show notes. Make sure you're subscribed to Sweat Community Podcast and head on over to sweatcommunity.com to stay in the know on upcoming events. And I'll leave you with this. What made you sweat this week? I'll catch you next time. Can't wait to talk soon. Bye.